Welcome to another edition of Telling It Like It Is. And I am Advocate Tulu Hoyan, your usual host. Today I'd like to talk about crime. Crime is something that really worries me as a person, not only just as a lawyer, but as a person. South Africa is engulfed in a wave of crime, which is probably unprecedented. About 20 people a day die in South Africa from violent crime. Crime has always been with us. It is not a new phenomenon. It is probably something that we are now trying to get used to, and we are getting hardened to crime. We are seeing so much criminality around us that it simply does not, we simply don't bother anymore about it. Where we are sort of learning to live with crime, which is a very abnormal sort of thing, because how do you learn to live with crime? But let us just look at what is happening in South Africa these days. The police are out to shoot to kill. I don't know whether these instructions come from the top or wherever they come from. I'm not very sure. But police are increasingly engaging criminals, and fatally so. In the last week or so, I think we have seen about 20 fatalities. This involved, cash in transit, alleged cash in transit robbers or criminals. It also involves people who are involved in extortion. Extortion is another growing problem in South Africa. Nowadays, if you run a business, you better be sure that one of your overheads is protection money that you'll be paying out to the syndicates just to make sure that you keep yourself in business. Otherwise, they'll just shut you down. Syndicates are all over the place. And media reports indicate that they are most rampant in the Eastern Cape, especially in the Mthatha region. But it is a countrywide phenomenon. Now let us look at a situation where how do police end up killing anybody? Police are supposed to arrest you. These are this is standard. When a crime is committed, police will do the necessary investigations and so on, and confront suspects, and eventually suspects get arrested. In other words, policemen don't go out to shoot to kill. But how then does it happen that police end up having to shoot to kill? Of course, the expectation is that when police go out to make an arrest, they will always apprehend a suspect. But not so these days. Increasingly in South Africa these days now, we are seeing heavily armed criminals with all sorts of an assortment of weapons, automatic weapons, rifles, and you name it, they've got it. So it is that when police try and apprehend them, they will then shoot back. Under those circumstances, police are left with no option but to shoot back. Because much as they are supposed to effect an arrest with minimum force, but in the face of that kind of violent confrontation with criminals, they are left with no option to shoot but to shoot. This can lead to very, very undesirable situations, because every police shooting has to be investigated. The police cannot just come up and with a story that criminal so and so was violent and they encountered in place A and he started shooting and they shot him. So an investigation will always follow into the circumstances surrounding the shooting and so on. In other words, so that the shooting by the police under those circumstances then becomes justifiable. Of course, where it is not justifiable, it can lead to all sorts of problems for the police involved. They can actually be charged with murder because it is murder. If, for instance, police shoot at a fleeing suspect, they shoot him from the back. Obviously, the suspect was not posing any threat to them. That is why they ended up shooting him from the back. under those circumstances, an inquest will be the most appropriate thing to undertake, and an investigation will follow, and the policemen or policemen involved will then have to face the music. But I am really worried about the scourge of corruption because it has made, our neighborhoods so unsafe. Because how do we then talk about taking this country forward by way of economic development when there's so much criminality, taking place? Because, criminality has got other, repercussions. Investors are not going to come to this country and invest in a country where, investments are not safe, the criminals are running amok all over the place. So something has to be done drastically. I'm encouraged by the new Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu, that the man seems to be very hands-on. And perhaps he will turn around this situation and we might see some improvement with time. But as things stand now, South Africa is in a very bad way. Is in a very, very bad way as far as crime is concerned. We have about 20 people or so getting killed in South Africa on a daily basis. This is not a country at war. And, this has become a usual statistic. Policemen are getting killed all over the place. And, being a policeman these days is probably the most dangerous job that one can ever do in this country. How other people end up being policemen, I don't know. I wouldn't take a job like that. The risks are not just worth it. But anyway, just to round up, there needs to be some political will to fight crime. The government must be seen to be doing something about crime. I was very disappointed in the former Minister of Police, Bheki Cele. Bheki Cele made no impact whatsoever, on the rising crime levels through the country. He was full of promises, but very short on delivery. So we really hope that Senzo Mkhunu will do something about the scourge. That is about all that I have for you today. Like I always do, please, 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 please subscribe. I always request you to subscribe. This channel can never grow without your subscriptions. Please click on that subscribe button and subscribe. Thank you very much.